Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
Yeah. Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence frosters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's a storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay away. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time.
Okay, how is everybody? Let me turn off the very powerful air conditioning in this room. Hello, Greer's Garden. Hello, Legal Writer. Hello, B-Rabbit. Confused. Peace. Hello, Debbie H. Hello, Maestro. Thank you for moderating. Hello, Mia Wallace. All right, let's get into it. Powerful day in court for Peggy O'Keefe, really. Queen Peggy. Just so real, so raw. If anyone had any confusion about what a crime like this does to a family member, they can only look at Peggy O'Keefe's testimony today in court to know the real impact it has on the family. And it's not just an impact, these are wounds that just do not heal. And she was up there giving voice to her son, John O'Keefe. I thought it was she could barely get through it. And I could feel the momentum in my chat of everyone just kind of putting their good wishes behind her, that she could finish up her testimony, that she could vocalize her testimony. She was so upset. But out of that came that she never, this story was chilling when Paul O'Keefe told it last trial to anyone with ears. Now, I woke up this morning with a different. So here's my take on everything. These innocence fraud campaigns work outside the courtroom. So they work because they can't win in court. They put pressure outside going inside. So if you caught my appearance on Court TV, Anton Bell talks about the first African-American elected attorney for the Commonwealth, Hampton, Virginia. He mentions very astutely that he goes, this reminds me of O.J. Simpson. I said, O.J. Simpson, you say? Because of course, O.J. Simpson is where the Innocence Project was born. It's not the first innocence fraud campaign, certainly, but so much of that innocence fraud was really inspired by what happened in the O.J. Simpson case, where they got someone acquitted by working outside the courtroom, putting pressure on outside in. And this is even stronger. I mean, this is a full-on campaign, witness harassment campaign, devised by Karen Reed's lawyers, devised by Karen Reed, done by blogger Aiden Turtleboy Carney with his flying monkeys. I mean, this is really something we have not seen before. It is so evil. I don't know another word to use, but intensely evil and immoral. I mean, if you're an American, we believe that these matters were worked out in our justice system, not by harassing witnesses, not by getting on TV, that we think that justice is meted out in the courtroom. So I do not know where this is going to go. As far as we may be headed, if there are free Karen readers on the jury or people who have been really touched by this innocence fraud campaign, we might be headed into another hung jury. We might be headed into an acquittal. We might be headed into Karen Reed convicted of one puny charge in this. We do not know. And so I'm only going to report on what I see, how I'm reacting to what I see in court. Now, I have to be honest, I didn't think Carrie Roberts was a particularly strong witness. I didn't find her particularly strong last time for me. As far as giving voice to John O'Keefe and really bringing light to Karen Reed's psychopathic behavior, I would put that in the hands of Aaron O'Keefe, Paul O'Keefe, and Jen McCabe. I happen to think she was an excellent witness. That's, we've only really heard from the jurors who are like the free Karen readers. We really haven't heard from the guilty verdict jurors. So that's how I took it. I'm sure everyone's different, as every juror takes every witness differently. This is how I'm experiencing it today. For me, the star of the show was Peggy O'Keefe. And I knew the minute she sat down, or when it was time for a cross, I knew they couldn't cross her. There's just no way you could cross Peggy O'Keefe, meaning cross-examine her. I mean, there's just no way you're going to cross-examine her. And what she brought light to was this horrific story that Paul O'Keefe told, which is Karen Reed comes back for her stuff, since her stuff is so important to her. And it couldn't have been much, because she got the stuff she wanted when she was there, and we don't know. And she was upstairs. We don't know what she was doing. Right. And she didn't comfort the children. She didn't comfort Peggy O'Keefe. She just went up. It's always all about Karen Reed. Went up, got her stuff, and got out without saying a word with her father, like a bunch of grave robbers. It was, if you can understand that behavior, why, if an innocent person would react that way, it's very much like what we talk about in the Dan Markel case with Wendy Adelson. Changing her kids' names, never talking to the Markels again, creating a divide, and always putting it on the other family. Well, they don't like me. It's very telling behavior. Again, we heard the one detail that always gives me chills. Now, is this why I think Karen Reed is guilty? No, I think Karen Reed is guilty because of the totality of the evidence. But when I hear this piece of the story, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. John O'Keefe was a neat freak. Karen Reed didn't want to go back to 34 Fairview, One Meadows, John O'Keefe's house, She only wanted to go to 34 Fairview. Strangely, the one place he was at, which no one else knew he was at. Because, of course, logically, Jen McCabe, who should have not been involved at all, Carrie Roberts, who should not have been involved at all. But of course, Karen Reed has to mix it all up. She has to have someone else to point to, someone else to make the 911 call for her, someone else to mix in personalities, mix in people who she can point the finger at and point motive to, mix in extra characters into the story because she's criminally minded. But so Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe naturally think that maybe John O'Keefe maybe went back to the house somewhere where she didn't, since Karen Reed didn't look in the house. In fact, she needs to retrieve Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts, to go on this search with her, although she did say she did search within a 2-mile radius before she headed over to Jen McCabe's. I hope we'll hear more about that. But that Jen McCabe, sorry, I'm taking a long time, but Jen McCabe, go back, at John O'Keefe's house, John O'Keefe is a neat freak. He had a rule. Everyone takes off their shoes. When they get back to John O'Keefe's house, Carrie Roberts is struggling with her boots. Jen McCabe is struggling with her boots. Karen Reed doesn't take off her shoes, goes right in. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that Karen Reed knows before John O'Keefe is found that his rules no longer matter. That she's not going to get in any trouble. John O'Keefe is not on earth anymore to tell her to take off her shoes, or is so deeply wounded that he will not reprimand her for not taking off her shoes. It's Karen Reed's rules. That now, not John O'Keefe's. It is a telling detail. Now, is that the detail that makes me think Karen Reed's guilty? Someone else didn't take off their shoes and that's all it? Would I think they're guilty? No. But it's one of those very telling details. And I'm glad that Hank Brennan asked Carrie Roberts about it. Certainly chilling when it came out in the first trial. Now I was prepared for it. Munera Sultana, thanks for becoming a channel member. All right, let's get into Peggy O'Keefe's testimony. Of course, at the end of Carrie Roberts' testimony, we heard damning statement from Karen Reed that we'd heard before, but we'd never heard Karen Reed say it. Heard about it in hearings. Also today, we're going to talk about the ARCA witnesses. We're going to look at that hearing. Very telling hearing there. Boy, is this defense team just totally criminal. We'll talk about that. On the docket, Peggy O'Keefe, Karen Reed's own statements, and ARCA witnesses. We're going to talk about it all today. Okay, here we go. Peggy O'Keefe. Testimony. Hold on a second. Okay.
All right, your next witness, please, Mr.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth calls Peggy O'Keefe.
You solemnly swear the evidence given before the jury in the case now hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So, good afternoon, Mrs. O'Keefe. Yeah. All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mrs. O'Keefe.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brennan.
What you got from her reactions to Judge Cannone is that she does not like Judge Cannone. She likes Judge Cannone as much as I like Judge Cannone. And she seems to really like Hank Brennan. That's what I got from it. Let me know what you got just from her demeanor and her body language.
Could you kindly introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Margaret O'Keefe. I am John O'Keefe's mother.
Are you married?
Yes,
Who are you married to?
John O'Keefe Jr.
How long have you been married for?
Too long. 53 years.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you.
53. Long enough?
How long have you lived in the area?
We moved to Canton 3 years ago.
So they in John O'Keefe's house, it sounds like. My King of Kings. Thanks for becoming a YouTube member. I mean, this is the kind of report that you really can't buy with a jury. I mean, this is like, she's real. You don't get the feeling she's holding back or putting on airs or worrying about. She's just being herself. This is a really naturally good witness.
Before you moved to Canton 3 years ago, where did you live?
Braintree.
How long had you lived in Braintree for?
50 years?
Did you begin your family in Braintree?
No, we lived in Mattapan first, and that's where my daughter was born. And then we moved to Braintree.
Your daughter was born when you were in Mattapan?
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter's name?
Kristen.
How many children did you have?
3.
You, Kristen and John?
And Paul.
Is Paul the youngest, the baby?
The baby.
Did you raise your children? How long were you in Mattapan before you moved closer to here?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
How long did you live in Mattapan before you moved closer?
2 years.
And then the rest of the time you were in the area?
In Braintree.
Tell me a little bit about your immediate family.
My daughter. My daughter Kristen had a tumor, a cancerous tumor that she had for 5 months. And she died in November of 13. She had 2 children. And then 2 months after she passed, her husband passed from a heart attack. And then you all know about Joan. And then my son Paul is over there.
That was 2013, ma'am. Could I ask you about her children?
She had 2 children, Kaylee, who's now 17, and Patrick is 14. And he's a run for my money.
Do you remember how old the children were when your daughter passed?
3 and 6.
When that happened, was there any plan for the children?
As far as
Or what was going to happen with the children?
when she passed
Yes, ma'am.
and when he passed,
Yes, ma'am.
my son decided to be the head guardian, and then we had I was the other guardian, and there was Steve's brother and sister with the other 2 guardians. There's 4 of us.
May I approach you just the microphone?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Talking too soft. Okay.
Did I understand that there was a decision that John would be the primary guardian? Can you share with us how that decision came about?
Well, he was single. The other 2 guardians were married, and they didn't have children, but he decided to do it himself, and then I was the second one in case he needed me. So I was over there most of the time, like when the kids get home from school or, take them places.
And this is one reason I thought why Karen Reed seems to not like Peggy O'Keefe, and it seems to be returned, I think rightfully. I wouldn't like Karen Reed either. Who would like that psychopath murderer to be involved with your family? But I think that if she's around, that Karen Reed has to dominate and control. And I don't think Peggy O'Keefe is easily dominated or controlled. you know, I think she's too smart and wise. She seems wise for that. And she's around, and this is one of the things, and this is my regret in this trial. And I think that had this been a trial of a man running over their female girlfriend, police officer girlfriend, and leaving her to die in the snow, we'd be hearing all about coercive control, abusive relationships. But because it's the other way around, we're not going to hear about it. That's how I feel. I mean, I think anybody who sends, 53 phone calls, the tone of those phone calls, imagine a man making those phone calls. I hate you. You're a pervert. The text messages where they're arguing. And Karen Reed's obviously just cannot leave him alone. Like, calling him and calling him. And he's like, stop calling me. And she won't do it. She just won't. She has to maintain total control over John O'Keefe. And this is a crime about power and control. And this is why Karen Reed, I think, really wants the world to know that in some ways she did this. There's a part of her that wants the world to know that she did it. This is the ultimate exercise of her power. She removed someone off the planet. She also did an interview with the Glare recently, of course, begging for money with Melanie Little. Hasn't worked as a civil attorney in years. And it really reminded me, have you guys seen the movie To Die For with Nicole Kidman? It's like, wow, Karen Reed is really turning into that Nicole Kidman who was based on Murderer Smart. Is it Elizabeth Smart?
And then have them on weekends so he could have a break. So that's what I did.
Did other people help out in addition to you and John?
Yes, my husband was there, and Paul and Erin were there, and the other members of Steve's family.
Pam Smart. I've actually talked about her before. And she had very much like Karen Reed, she had a lot of male supporters and supporters around her through her trial and afterwards.
I understand at some point John worked in law enforcement.
Yes.
Besides that, could you just share just a little bit about him with us?
He was a police officer at headquarters. And when he first started, he was in Hyde Park, and then he moved to Dorchester, and then into Boston itself, and that's what he did.
I was hoping if you could tell us a little bit about John besides his work.
I think she's just afraid she's going to fall apart if she talks about his personality. And I wish she had talked a little bit more about his personality. Kitty's 1993. Thank you. And thanks for streaming and after discussion. You're welcome. I think we're going to be on a Monday through Friday schedule with this podcast. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. I think it's just too crazy to stream Monday through Friday and then do Saturday and Sunday too. I think that's going to be nuts.
He was enthusiastic with sports. He was wonderful with the kids. He took care of them and did everything for them. Take them places on vacations and everything. He was their number one, and they called him JJ.
Would you mind if I showed you a photograph?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you a photograph.
Okay.
And can you tell us what you see?
That's my son.
Thank you. May I introduce this as an exhibit?
Yes.
Exhibit 16.
With the court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Yes.
Ms. O'Keefe, do you know when this picture was taken?
Oh, I really don't know. It was in the summer of I don't know what year. I really don't know the year. But is that one he probably took him to a fair or an amusement park, and he had his picture taken there with it, and then the kids were with him too. So,
Do you know how old he was in that picture?
43, maybe
What year was John born?
75.
Ms. Gilman, could you take the photo down, please? How old was John when he passed?
45. My mind's not working right now.
I understand. It's okay. Can I ask you a few more questions? Okay. You let me know. I want to go back to the morning of January 29th, 2022. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Were you home?
I was home in Braintree.
In Braintree.
Mhm.
Who were you with?
My husband.
Did you receive a phone call?
Yes, from Carrie Roberts. It was about 6:15, between 6:15 and 6:30 in the morning.
Did you know Carrie Roberts?
Yes,
How did you know her?
she lived in Braintree for a while. John and her were friends. They went to the junior prom together. And then we found out that she moved. She lived in Canton, and she was around the corner from us, and she helped us out with the kids.
And when you were helping take care of the kids, would you often see Miss Roberts?
Yeah, because she'd take Patrick and her son Ryan places. And yeah, so I saw her all the time.
Often?
Yeah.
When she called you that morning, do you remember the conversation?
Yeah, she said John was found in a snowbank. And I didn't understand, which I said, what do you mean found in a snowbank? She said, they found him in the snow. They don't know what happened. She says he's brought up to the Good Samaritan Hospital.
What a horror. I mean, no mother should ever have to testify in their son's murder trial. It's just what a horror. And this is another of the victimization of Karen Read. Another person would have said, I did it, come forward, and be happy to take their lumps, would feel so guilty. But Karen Read has no guilt, no shame. And that's also what that says about the way she came into the home. No guilt, no shame, no concern for others, no concern for the hurt that she caused. It's only her feelings. And she doesn't want the awkwardness of having to interact with the family of the man that she just killed brutally in a most disgusting and brutal manner. JJ has a question for me, and thank you, JJ. Roberta, I've been appalled by the comments from Karen Read supporters and their fantastical conspiracy theories. Can someone explain how a rational person can honestly think she's innocent? Okay. Well, there's a lot of different things going on. So someone was asking me about Carl Steinbeck and why he thinks Karen Read's innocent. I don't think he thinks Karen Read's innocent. I think he is grifting for money. He's now taking super chats. Remember when it was all about justice for Dan Markel and he wouldn't take any super chats on his monetized videos, right? Because it was all about justice for Dan Markel. Now that he cares so little about the O'Keefe family receiving justice, he's happy to grift away. So I think it's just a grift. He wants work as a lawyer. He wants to be seen as important, and he wants the power and the money that comes from having a big audience. And the way to get a big audience in this case is to side on the side of the killer. So Karen Read supporters are a very mixed bunch. There's a lot of very criminal, dangerous people with personality disorders, psychopaths, narcissists, mentally unwell people. And in that group, and I think this is the group you're asking me about, is the rational group that has just been convinced by their propaganda campaign, that thinks that ARCA are honest witnesses, that thinks that the lawyers talking about this case are talking honestly and telling their real opinion. Believe that Alan Jackson and David Yannetti actually believe that Karen Read is innocent. They don't believe Karen. They know she's guilty as hell. They think that ARCA are, because they were hired by the feds, but there's so much, we know that there's so much that the federal investigation was started as a favor to David Yannetti and Karen Read, and they wouldn't have hired experts that they couldn't work with and manipulate. Then they retained them and paid for them. So yeah, that's the kind of evidence. With the love tap, they believe the love tap could actually shatter the taillight, and they believe that there can be a conspiracy theory in a way that you don't have. They're not thinking. They're looking at micro details. They're not looking at the big evidence against Karen Read. To them, that's all planted, fabricated. You can't trust the Commonwealth. You can only trust these disreputable, I don't know what I'd call them, grifter lawyers on YouTube. Oh, and our media too. And our media is joined in on it. So it's a powerful bunch of appeal to authority. Yeah, it's all pretty much an appeal to authority. ARCA, the authority of our media. People can't really think, and yeah, it's a heady cocktail. They're all, it's been very abusive with, towards me lately. And towards people they think are me. I mean, it's like crazy. I can take it. I've done this so many times. It's not going to shut me up. I've done so many of these, been up against so many of these disturbed mobs for killers before. Like it's old hat at this point. But please don't attack people you think that are masquerading, that I'm secretly masquerading as, because I will tell you, I haven't been caught in a lie before. I won't be caught in a lie in the future. Tell the truth on my channel. I only have my Twitter accounts that say my name. I think I started another Twitter account that I never use, True Glass, but I'm at Roberta Glass Pod if you want to follow me on Twitter. Facebook has my name. If it has my name and my logo, I hope they don't start up something fake with my name, but it's generally me. I don't use a different name on the internet. I just use my own name. You'll see me in comments on other videos using my own name. That's it. So that's it. End of story. Please, if you want to abuse me, come to me, not someone else.
So she says, I'm going to come get you and Papa because I don't want you driving. I says, we can drive there. We both have 4-wheel drives. She says, no, I'm coming. So she came to get us. And it took a while to get there because the snow was bad. And in the meantime, I had called one of my nieces to find out, because one of my other nieces worked at Good Samaritan. I just wanted to know if she could find out anything about it. And I just couldn't get a hold of her. So when we get up there, they told us to sit in this room and they would bring us down shortly. So finally they said, okay, you can go down. So we started walking down the corridor. And as I'm walking down, I hear Karen Read yell, Peg, is he dead? Is he dead, Peg? Peg, is he dead? And I just kept walking. And then I asked, I don't know who it was, a nurse or a worker at the hospital. And I said, what is she doing here? And she said, oh, she's being psych evaluated. So then they brought us down to the room where my son was. He's bruised up, his eyes were closed. It's just not a good scene.
Okay. I'd like to go back, if I may.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah.
When Kerry Roberts picked you up in the car, did anybody go with you and Miss Roberts on the drive from your home in Braintree to Good Samaritan Hospital?
No, we were the only three in the car.
Who was the third person?
My husband.
During the drive to Good Samaritan Hospital that morning,
Yep.
did you ever have a chance while you were in the car to speak to the defendant?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about that conversation.
She, I asked her what happened, and she said, we went to a party. I left him there. I said, you just left him there? She said, yes, I just left him there.
Did she say whether she left him inside or outside?
No, she just said, I left him there.
Did she tell you whether or not she left him in the driveway or the street?
She just said, no, I just left him there.
You told us that when you got into Good Samaritan Hospital, you were walking.
Wow, I never really considered that statement, what that means. Because, you know, people avoid lying, it's stressful. So that essentially is true. She did leave him there. She left him to die in the snow. But she wants Peggy O'Keefe to think that she just dropped him out at the house without running him over. But she did essentially just leave him there after she ran him over 24 miles an hour in reverse with her foot 75% down on the pedal. Surprised people, you know, that was put in. I was pleased to see Hank Brennan bringing that detail into opening statements, that her foot was 75% down on the gas pedal. I mean, that is, I mean, anyone who's ever driven, I mean, you don't go past like halfway, maybe, ever. I mean, that is just flooring it, close to flooring it. Flooring it is all the way down, but it's close, you know, 3/4 to flooring it in a Lexus, in a modern vehicle, not like on the stick shift that I learned how to drive on. Turns her wheel into him. I mean, come on. What are we even here for? It's just... And I often wonder, you know, when they say, well, that mortally wounded comment, the defense comes in, that was made. He didn't look mortally wounded. But you know that wasn't about finding him that morning, because they all seem to know he was dead. Kerry Roberts, you know, was doing the friend thing where she's hoping that he could be saved, but really knowing deep down that he was gone. Jen McCabe knew he was gone. He's dead. He's dead. Is he dead? He's dead. You know, mixing it all up. I hit him. Did I hit him? I hit him. Did I hit him? I hit him. Just mixing it all up, creating confusion, keeping people in a fear state of mind. So it's hard for them to think and remember. It's so obvious to me that she must, I keep thinking that had to be about that night. That she got out of her car for a second, took a look at him and sped off. Or got a look out the window. I'm not sure, but she got some look at him where he didn't look mortally wounded. Remember, the plan was, according to Karen Reed, the plan was to teach John a lesson at a minimum, To think that this wasn't planned is a mistake, everyone. Those are Karen Reed's own words. Telling. Down
the hallway, and you had another interaction with the defendant.
Yes.
And you told us that she was asking if he was dead.
Hmm.
Can you describe a little bit where in the hospital you had this interaction with her?
When they took us down to the emergency room, the doors open, and there was a corridor to go down to the other rooms, and she was on the left-hand side, and that's when she saw me come in, and that's when she started yelling, "Is he dead, Peg? Is he dead, Peg?"
So when she was yelling, could you describe her mood or demeanor? Was she animated?
She's loud, and I don't know. She was just loud, and as she was saying it.
And when she was asking you, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" Did you again ask her a question?
I just asked the nurse, "What is she doing here?"
And did you speak to Miss Reed herself?
No.
At some point, and you and your husband got to see John?
Yes.
And were you with Kerry at some point?
Kerry was there, and then my son Paul was there.
How did you get home?
I think I went home with Paul, and I think my husband went home with Kerry. We went back to Canton at the time.
Do you remember generally the time frame? Was it morning, afternoon, evening?
No, it was morning.
Do you remember getting home that day?
Yeah. It was snowy, icy.
Was anybody home when you got
No.
back?
No, it was just us. And then the kids started coming home. And that's when I was trying to, take care of them. And then there was a knock at the door. And it was Karen, her father, and her brother asked if they could come in. And I was just trying to calm the kids because Patrick was just out of control, yelling. And then they came in. And then he said, "Do you mind if we go upstairs and get a couple of her things?" Which I never should have let them go up there. But at the time, I just couldn't think straight. And I really didn't have anybody else to help me keep them down in the kitchen. So I don't know what they got up there, what they did up there.
How long were they when you?
Imagine if Peggy O'Keefe said, "No, you can't go up there." Karen Reed would have gone up there anyway. And her dad. What are you going to do? Call the police? Say she can't retrieve her stuff? I mean, probably that would have been the smarter thing to do. Had her get her stuff escorted by the police to make sure she doesn't touch anything, do anything. But I mean, all I could think was grave robbers. Grave robbers. Grave robbers. They're like grave robbers. I know she's getting her own stuff. It's just, she felt, the way Karen Reed talks about it, is she's walking into the enemy zone. Why are these people that hours before were her boyfriend of 2 years family, now she's walking into enemy territory? Why? What did she do? They all suspected me. Really? Why, Karen? Really? Why? It's because you knew you did something. Not that you felt guilty for it. Let's not confuse things. She just knew that she was the one responsible for John O'Keefe's death. Otherwise, you keep a relationship. Even if you're not capable of it, you fake the condolences like Alan Jackson did today in court. We'll get to that disgusting moment in court in a minute. But it doesn't make any sense. What if Peggy said no, you can't go, Karen Reed would say, "Well, I'm going to get my stuff anyway." She's going to do what she's going to do. What are you going to do? Call the police? By the time you call the police and they get there, she's gone with her father. They're criminally minded people. They're not feeling. This is a psychopath. It's not a feeling person.
You say upstairs, do you know what room they went to?
I assumed the bedroom.
So I'm going to strike that, Mrs. O'Keefe. If you could just, what you actually know, okay? And Mr. Brennan can ask a better question.
Thank you. Could I lead a bit?
Yes.
Ma'am, how many rooms are upstairs in John's home?
1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms and an office. And off the master bedroom, there's a bathroom, and then there's a closet. It's a big house.
Did you see the defendant and her father go upstairs?
I didn't really see them go up, but I knew they were up there because I could hear them.
You didn't follow them up or go to look?
No.
You didn't know which room or rooms they were in?
No, I'm assuming the bathroom and the master bedroom.
My question was poor. You didn't see which rooms they actually went in?
No.
How long was the defendant upstairs in John's home with her father?
I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Did you see them come back down?
No, I did not.
When they were upstairs, what were you doing?
I was trying to calm the kids.
Both of them?
But yeah, well, mainly Patrick.
How was Patrick reacting?
He was very upset once we told him because he slept over a friend's house the night before, and he just said, I'll never see him again. Sorry.
Would you like a moment?
Mrs. O'Keefe, would you like to take a short break?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Whoa. I mean, she just doesn't even look at Judge Cannoni. Doesn't even look at her. I thought, ooh. She's like, no thanks, Judge Cannoni. I won't have your break. I'll get through this. She's pretty strong through the rest of it. That's my memory.
You can just let me know when you're ready. Take your time.
Okay, go ahead.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. That morning, when the defendant and her father came into your home, did you personally interact with the defendant?
Nope.
Was there any hugs, condolences?
Nope.
Did you ever confront the defendant with any accusations when she was in your home that morning?
I don't even remember her being in the house. When she went upstairs, that's the last I saw of her.
Did you ever lean over a kitchen island? Do you have a kitchen island in your house?
Nope.
Did you ever lean over the kitchen island and say, I think he looks like he got hit by a car?
No. I don't remember talking to her that morning.
Did you see when she left?
Nope.
Did you ever see her Lexus in the driveway?
Nope.
The children, who's their guardian and custodian now?
Well, there's still 4 of us. 4 of us.
Where do they live?
One in Boston, one in Stoughton, and Paul's in Bridgewater, and me.
Where do the children live?
With me. In Canton.
They live with you full time?
Yes.
You're their primary caretaker?
Yes.
Thank you.
So get ready for a totally disgusting moment from Alan Jackson that made my blood boil. Is everybody ready? We're all a support group here together. This is going to make your blood boil.
Mrs. O'Keefe, I'm very, very sorry for your loss. I have no questions for you.
Well, if she took that well, I would have wanted to punch him in the face. While I'm defending your son's killer, I'll take the time now in front of the jury to win brownie points with the jury with this. And say, and give you this throwaway line that I don't really feel. While I'm harassing the victims and the witnesses, really victims too, witnesses in this case, and trying everything I can do in every underhanded and creepy way to get your son's killer off, let me just express to you how sorry I am. Freaking outrageous, Alan Jackson. What a garbage human being you are. You made enough money, do something else. This is like career as an expression of your total lack of empathy for others and your total affinity with criminals is wearing thin on this segment, on the non-psychopathic side of the populace, the feeling populace. We're tired of it. Just absolutely revolting. So that was Peggy O'Keefe, really quite heroic. It would show you just how heroic these victims' family members can be. I mean, the courage that took, courage that Karen Read will never show, never take the stand. I think she will only take the stand in this case if her defense totally falls apart, and she will take the stand against the advice of her lawyers, try to take matters in her own hands and save it. And then we'll definitely see a murder to conviction, I think, then, if it goes that way. So far, it's not going that way. Her case certainly has not totally fallen apart. She hasn't even shown her case. We'll see. Certainly, it hasn't been good testimony for Karen Read the last couple days. Of course, though, if you are Howie Carr and a avid Free Karen reader, hold on one second. You're going to put up something. Just get to my bookmarks. Write something for Boston, the Boston Herald. Hank Brennan, the special prosecutor, came out of the gate Tuesday in the Karen Read trial and immediately put a worldwide audience not just to sleep, but into a deep coma. Didn't put me into a deep coma. No notes. Compelling storytelling, but he's going to sell this innocence fraud campaign with that and appeal to all the Free Karen readers, because it's really like a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. They cannot hear it. They cannot hear the totality and all the really strong, the totality of the evidence against Karen Read, really the strength of the evidence against her, and how weak this conspiracy theory is. But here's Karen Read on the glarer. I mean, they had her when she came on.
No, there's no rhythm and no.
They had applause, and look at Melanie Little. Hey, it's an accused murderer. We all know she's a killer, but technically she's an accused murderer. Hey, let's get the applause going. It's the killer. It's the cop killer. That's not me. Sometimes I play applause like that on my show. I certainly wouldn't play it when Karen Read came on. Mark Betterow, Aidan Carney, the blogger's lawyer, and the glare is a wife beater or woman beater. And Karen Read.
Oh, I can't hear anybody. How are you? Oh, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm
Hi.
okay.
What's
Oh my
up,
God, you
Karen?
look great. I hope you're
No.
feeling okay, and I hope you get some sleep because I feel like a kid at Christmas, like it's not in a good way. Like it's, I don't know. Are you? How do you feel?
How do you feel? So here's what she did. She said, I feel like a kid at Christmas. Right. But then she realized that that wasn't a good look for a murder trial. So then she tried to clean it up and say, not in a good way. Kid in Christmas is like, you're so excited. So you can't wait for something good to happen. How does Karen Reed feel? I'm not going to play all of this, just a little.
How are you feeling?
This is my mission, Attorney Little.
I know.
I've resigned myself to it, and I'll tell anyone this. It's more important than anything.
So this lisp that she has. Apparently, someone told me that this is when you get Botox around your lips. You get this lisp.
Thing I've done or could ever be asked to do. So I've got to see it through, and I've had help from everyone on this screen right now in big ways and small ways and really important ways. And I've met people I'd never meet, and I'm fighting for John.
That's where I'm going to leave it. That's where I'm going to leave it. That's about as much as I can take of that. I mean, I'm fighting for John. No, you're not. Sorry. No. Sorry. Wrong. You're John O'Keefe's accused murderer at this point. He's not fighting for John. Legal writer, thanks so much. Wow, thanks. Jackson's after 30-second fuddle with team. Huddle. Or a muddle, a man huddle. Huddle with team, walks to podium with condolences. Infuriating. It wasn't an infuriating, orchestrated in extreme disrespect, in my opinion. It may not be a shared opinion, but it stung. It was horrible. He's had all this opportunity to give his condolences to Peggy O'Keefe. He only wants to give his condolences when he's in front of a jury and he can win brownie points. F you. I mean, sorry. Excuse me. That was not. But yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I felt deep down. I was so angry. I hit the roof. It's just so wrong. So incredibly disrespectful and wrong. Legal writer goes on to say, planned 150%, stay seated, LA attorney, disrespected our profession. Certainly. And here's just awful. I mean, here's what Karen Reed and her attorneys, we know that they were in communication, just so much with Aiden Turtleboy Carney, orchestrating this witness harassment campaign, orchestrating leaking out sealed information to him so that they could, one of the reasons, so that they could fire up the Karen Reed supporters and get more Karen Reed supporters, but also so that they could mention it in their own motions. Let me see. Do I still have that? Hold on one sec. Yeah, here I do. This is the way that Aiden Carney has spoken of Peggy O'Keefe. Just to give you, and this is the blogger that Karen Reed's lawyers cheer on when he insults the family members, including the cousin, John O'Keefe. They say it's a great show, great work, awesome reporting. It's Yannetti. Great job harassing the O'Keefe family. So Aiden Carney said, the O'Keefe family, including his brother Paul. Okay. Carney has said, with the O'Keefes, enough of the effing pity party for these effing people. The only good part about John not being alive is that he doesn't have to be around you useless maggots for a second more. F you, F your high horse, burn in hell. So I'm not going to play the clip of him abusing Peggy O'Keefe, but you get the idea. He's basically essentially said F her. Here he is on the first day of court
fishing
talking.
expedition, and they have all of our messages. You've seen the discovery. There aren't any messages between Karen Reed and me that were entered into the discovery, and they have both of our phones because there's nothing there. It's a wild, fishing expedition, and they have all of our messages, and Karen Reed and me never conspired to intimidate witnesses, so pretty boring what's in our phone, quite frankly.
Yeah, we'll see
You've
how
seen the
boring it
discovery.
is.
There aren't any messages.
They did work on an encrypted app that they put on auto delete, but we'll see if they can bring it up in his case. Anything else before I go into Karen Reed's own statements I wanted to go over? I think that's it. Okay, Karen Reed's own statements. Let's get into it. But before I do, I just want to thank some people. I want to thank Hannah and Christy for becoming new Patreon members. And I want to thank Jan Kershaw for the Venmo donation and Carol Holderman. Thank you so much for making this show and this channel possible. Appreciate it. Okay. Karen Reed. You never had heard this statement before? To Gretchen Voss, let's take a listen. We had heard the statement, but we hadn't heard Karen say the statement. So this came right after Carrie Roberts' testimony today in court. Take a listen.
May I?
Yes.
I'd like to play clip 3, please.
Before this is played, is it possible to take a quick break so we can review this? There's a lot of clips. I'm not sure what this is. I'd like to see it before it's played.
All right. How long a clip is this?
Probably about 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
All right. Jurors, we're going to ask you to take a break. And we'll.
My fault. Actually, I'm going to take a break and I'll cue this up when I get back from the break. Karen Reed's own statement. My apologies. Karen Reed's own statements when we get back to Gretchen Voss. Take a listen. We'll take a listen when we get back. Don't go anywhere.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact-focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light. Hard cash warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy. Exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.
Okay, I am back. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this episode. I count on you. I do not have a PR team. I'm just one person. So get this message out about this innocence fraud campaign is unreal. Unreal in the Karen Reed case. Let us all be a voice for victims and a voice against this tsunami of innocence fraud sweeping this country and really trying to tear apart our justice system. So here's Karen Reed's own statements to Gretchen Voss. For reals this time. For reals, as the young people say.
I'd like to play clip 3, please.
When my car was seized, there was a few small pieces of taillight missing that I had picked out at John's at 5:45 before we drove over to Fairview. I'm showing Jimmy Terry, look what I just did to my light, and I'm worried that there's gonna be some kind of electric short circuit. There's like the bulb is showing, and some of the red plastic's missing. So I picked pieces out of the light housing that had kind of collapsed within the light and dropped them in John's driveway.
I'd like to have that marked as an exhibit, please.
Okay. But no taillight pieces were found in John O'Keefe's driveway, strangely. But there's Karen Reed admitting that her taillight was cracked to Gretchen Voss that morning and that she had just done it. So, of course, the Karen Reed supporters will say, oh, she did it at 5:07, 5:08, that time when she love tapped John O'Keefe's car. There was no reason for her to back out that way. You can back out straight to the wall and back. I've shown you how she could have done that, but instead she turns her wheel right into John O'Keefe's car on the Ring camera to make evidence, because after talking to her dad's like, well, you gotta make yourself an alibi about some other way that you broke that taillight. Okay, here I am. And it might get her off. Might be good advice from Daddy Reed. We don't know. We don't know what the jury's gonna buy here in Denham, Mass. Okay. So I've been talking a lot about these since the beginning. I actually got a lot of flack for it in the beginning about these criminal lawyers in this case. How these lawyers weren't great lawyers. Even people on our side of the fence were saying, oh no, Roberta's wrong. These are great lawyers. I was saying, no, these are fraudster lawyers. Great lawyers practice law within the bounds of their profession in the court. Don't put on an innocence fraud campaign. Don't harass witnesses. Actually win by using the law, not going beyond the bounds and acting like a criminal. And this we've seen with the defense, with these ARCA witnesses, first telling the court, the public, the jury, that these were all unpaid, unbiased witnesses that the Commonwealth could have used if they wanted to. Turns out they paid them $23,925, retained them. And now, in this hearing, we learn that they deleted, what was it, 1,000, maybe more text messages? They didn't know they had to keep text messages. When Alessi was talking about that there was a pause in communication, he didn't mean text messages. He just meant emails. No, you didn't, Alessi. I went back to that hearing. No, you didn't. You said communications. But here he is lying to the court again. And spoiler alert, we have another pointless voir dire coming up for the Commonwealth. Because the Judge Cannoni will just let the defense violate their discovery a zillion times. If the Commonwealth had violated their discovery or she deemed that they had, and I, you know my opinion about the Alec Baldwin trial, but we saw that was a Brady violation, case dismissed. But with the defense, you get a pointless voir dire when the defense does it over and over and over and over and over again. In this case, violate their discovery obligations so that they can sandbag the prosecution in trial. That's always been their strategy. Here they are, and they bring up Alessi, and once again, they're apologists, part fraudster himself, to argue for them. They can't even argue their own case. I mean, why isn't Alan Jackson, who had communication with these ARCA witnesses, the one arguing? All right, let's take a listen to this motions hearing.
Motion to enforce compliance with the court's April 16th, 2025 ARCA discovery order. Mr. Brennan, you said you could be brief on both of these, so I'll hear you.
Your Honor, I'll get right to the point. On the motion for compliance, our position is the defense did not comply with your order. This has been an ongoing issue which relates directly to the credibility of potential ARCA witnesses. This is information based on the history and representations made in this case that we're entitled to. I did note before these were produced that we have watched video footage from unaired video from the documentary. We clearly knew that there were text messages and correspondence beyond what was represented to the court. It is not a surprise that I did receive these lists of text messages and calls after I made those comments. However, there is no text message content. There is 99 texts to Mr. Wolf, 6 texts to Mr. Rentschler. That does not reconcile with the past positions and representations of the defense to this court and to the Commonwealth. In addition, there are a number of phone calls. And those phone calls, again, I would suggest do not reconcile with the past representations. We have 52 minutes of phone calls on 5 calls with the ARCA mainline, 133 minutes, 20 calls with Dr. Wolf, 57 minutes, 23 calls with Dr. Rentschler. I find it difficult to accept that these are all for scheduling purposes. We also had your Honor's order, not just for the communications, which are not a complete or a fair production, but there was a order by the court to provide all correspondence, text messages, emails, not just with Attorney Jackson, but with the entire team, including the defendant, Karen Reed, and we have received nothing. This is important because if we look at the first half of ARCA's potential testimony, which is limited to their prior report, we cannot fairly and effectively cross-examine the witnesses until we have the information we're entitled, and that's why I've also asked and suggested that ARCA should be ordered and required to provide that evidence as well so that we can see what is there. It is concerning that there are this many texts, this many phone calls, and the fact that this is totally in contrast to what was represented in the past. So before there's even a thought of ARCA testifying, I think we're entitled to the full discovery that we asked for, the full discovery that the court has ordered. I don't see anything to do with billing or anything else beyond these text message and phone call logs. I want whatever content is available. I think it's relevant material. It's pursuant to your order, and this is woefully incomplete. Should I dive into the second motion?
Yes.
So I can move quickly. The second motion, part of it is moot in some respects. I won't go through the tortured history of discovery. We've gone through it too many times. We don't have time for it. But inevitably, it is clear that we have played by the rules, met our discovery obligations, and as we stand here now, the defense is proposing new opinions, new testing, and they don't even have the parts of that testing yet. This is 2 weeks into trial after we picked a jury. This is at the time of the opening. It is ambush. It is unfair, and we have no ability at this point to reconcile or deal with new opinions and new information. Importantly, the defense's position is they may or may not have a report by May 1st. Our expert will be testifying somewhere at the beginning or middle of May. He is away. He is not available. And so anything we receive at the beginning of May or end of April, we'll have no opportunity to look at, vet, test, reconcile, or even engage in our own testing. This was my concern all the way back in November. I'm not Nostradamus, but this obviously was something that worried me that actually.
Right. This is always, Judge Canoni, it's always too little too late. Why didn't she get on this in November? Why did she let this go on in her courtroom? And why did she say there'd be no more lies, and then Alessi lies to her again? And she does nothing. There's no consequences in Judge Cannoni's courtroom. And it invites lawlessness and these kind of criminal lawyers, because this is my suspicion, is that she's this kind of criminal lawyer herself. She was a defense attorney, represented some of the worst, and did a very Alan Jackson move in one young man she represented, killer, predator of a young girl, killed her with her own necklace. She said during sentencing that there wasn't a day goes by when my client doesn't feel badly for what he did. Your Honor, he feels bad. He feels bad that he took this 6-year-old or 7-year-old girl's life. I think she was 6. After he had his way with her. He feels bad every day about it. Come on. It's kind of fakeness, fake empathy. I can't stand it. These lawyers put on.
Occurred. And so at this point, it would be fundamentally unfair for the defense to get a benefit for failing to comply with discovery orders by waiting until February to seek permission with ARCA. They could have called any expert, asked for any expert they wanted. They didn't. They chose this method, and this is the consequence of it. And at some point, the defense has to bear the burden of their decisions. We will not have the ability to rush through, have Dr. Rentschler come in days before his testimony, try to reconcile, be inadequate. I've had a brief correspondence with him. It's simply impossible. That's why we suggested, although we certainly didn't want to move the trial date, that was the only remedy if the court was going to allow any new opinions, evidence. I say to the court that they should not be allowed to offer absolutely anything new, not only because they missed the discovery deadline, technical, but the reality is we're all trial lawyers. We've all tried a lot of cases. It would be a disadvantage, fundamentally unfair, and because of their own choosing. And so anything new, we will not be able to reconcile. We would not be able to proceed with our expert in a fair manner. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Alessi's issue, I'm going to ask you to be as brief as you can be, please.
So I'm moving the speed up a little bit on Alessi because I fear that we're all going to be talk about putting you to sleep. Howie Carr, you want to talk about putting you to sleep? Have you seen Robert Alessi? Argue motions? That's his superpower, putting people to sleep. And being a fraudster, that's his other superpower.
Your Honor, I understand your request to be as brief as possible, but this is the first opportunity the defense has had to respond to almost every allegation that's been made. We haven't had an opportunity, so I certainly respect the court and what the court's request is, but it is going to take a bit of time to put facts out. And I want to separate two categories that the Commonwealth has conflated. The Commonwealth has conflated.
Do you see how he's punching words? Alan Jackson does this. This is neurolinguistic programming. You're painting pictures of words, facts. So you're punching. Sometimes Hank Brennan actually used it in his opening. He'll use a slapping motion to wake people up. It's all sorts of things. Yeah, all these lawyers seem to use it. Neurolinguistic programming. It's a way of gaining undue influence if you don't know it's being done on you. When I was at the sentencing hearing of the number 2 in the Nexium cult, she started using she was like the number 2 neurolinguistic, Nancy Salzman, the number 2 neurolinguistic programming expert in the world. She started using it like very heavily, and it just put me in like almost like a hypnotic state. I went home and I slept for 2 days. It's just like every word, like she kept going back, looping backwards and forwards in time. It was crazy. Yeah. I don't think these lawyers are quite as good at it as Nancy Salzman is, but they are using it.
The issue of what text messages exist, which text messages don't exist, what's been turned over pursuant to orders. And I would like that to be clear to the court factually, because the Commonwealth has misstated just now.
Also using the illusionary truth effect. If he just keeps saying factually, facts, truthfully, honestly, truthfully, facts. Maybe he can get away with the fact that there you go, Alessi, the fact that he erased. Here, all you do it. Erased. Everybody here? He erased, got rid of, threw away, vanished over 1,000 text messages between ARCA and the defense. I don't know. I can't even do it.
Now 3 times the facts.
So I asked this morning, there were 100 or so texts referenced in the exhibit, whatever was presented by you folks. I asked if Mr. Jackson, if he provided them, because my order was clear, they were to be provided. And he said no. And I asked you at sidebar whether they were deleted. And you said yes, in due course. I have no idea what that means, Mr. Alessi. Why don't you explain that?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to explain. Here's what it means. Like anybody's phone, those text messages are 2 years old. They don't exist.
Right. They don't exist because we didn't save them. We made sure they didn't exist. We disappeared them. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate the opportunity to explain my lies.
So can you also tell me, aren't the ABA guidelines the counsel is supposed to keep everything in a case for 5 or 7 years?
I do not believe that is the ABA rule with regard to experts. I'm unaware of that.
In regard to your client, and this was in regard to your client's case, right?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear you.
Records kept regard to your client's case, which these are experts that were, there's 100 text messages leading up to trial when I was told that by you that there was a pause email and then all of a sudden out of the blue a bill appeared in July. This shows that's not true, Mr. Alessi.
Your Honor, that was a different question that Your Honor asked me back then. That was about emails. That was not about text messages.
Have emails been provided?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
All emails have been.
If I just rage at you, Your Honor, and act like I'm offended because I'm so truthful. No, he was talking about communications. Go back. Hope she rereads the court transcripts from that hearing. Go back. He was talking about communications. That includes text messages. No one thinks that the only way that you're going to communicate in this day and age is on email. Text messages, phone calls, emails, and you have to keep them all. Every lawyer knows this. It's such nonsense.
Been provided. And that is why we are in compliance with all orders. And I will say also with regard to text messages, we have provided pursuant to every order, every single text message that exists. Mr. Brennan just said, I believe there has to be more there. There's not more there. And I don't believe there can be an order of preclusion based upon the speculation of opposing counsel that there must be more. We affirmatively created a document, Your Honor, to be more transparent than the records, where we summarize all of the communications. Yes, we don't have the text of the text messages, but we were completely forthright and set forth every text that was made. Plus, we turned over.
Last time he said he was completely forthright and the defense was completely forthright. He was talking about the ARCA paying the witnesses and that there was a pause and no communication, no payment, and they paid them, but it just this just came out of the blue and they couldn't communicate. Just nonsense. She knows it. Last time you were telling me that you said a bill comes out of the blue and they're like a $23,925 bill and there was no communication or no understanding that they would be paid and no retainer, which all turned to be untrue because it's nonsense and ridiculous, and you would have to be born yesterday to believe it, to believe that.
Over from Ms. Little, the only other person on the defense team who communicated with ARCA, we turned over her texts and the text of her text messages. There is.
Just to explain the illusory truth effect, the more you hear something, the more you're going to believe it's true. So it's not just reiteration, it's just the more you hear something, so the more they repeat it, the more you're going to hear it, the more likely you're going to think it's true. And you saw Alan Jackson using that in the opening. There was no collision. There was no collision, no collision, no collision, no collision. Just keep saying it.
There is nothing else in existence to provide. And importantly, the defense was under no order to preserve the text of text messages. And we have never received, as part of discovery in this case from the Commonwealth, any communications between the Commonwealth and its several experts. That has not been what has occurred in this case. But of course, once Your Honor on Friday issued that order to provide everything, we provided everything we can that we had.
That we can. Then he corrected himself that we have. Robert P., thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate your support. This is all a listener supported show. I count on your donations to make this show possible. So thank you.
The bottom line is, Your Honor, we've turned over absolutely everything we have. And in addition to that, we created a document so that it would be easier. We're the one who showed all of these text messages from Mr. Jackson historically. We created that document. There's no basis for a discovery violation. There's no basis for an order violation. We are in full compliance. So that's the prong one, Your Honor. Prong one is what Mr. Brennan has alleged is incorrect because we turned over, and we did it recently and consistently. We've turned over all emails and Ms. Little's text we provided. There are no text messages in 2024, and there's no order that required those to be preserved. And there is no discovery violation because we can't be in violation of not turning over something that.
There's no order to preserve. How do you know that these text messages exist? How are you going to have an order to preserve text messages you don't know exist?
Doesn't exist.
All right, go to the second.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Motion.
The second part of the motion, Your Honor, is the most maddening for the defense. And this is the timeline that I can go through very, very quickly. And essentially, what the Commonwealth just argued is we will be so prejudiced that if we get the work that ARCA is underway, working on, that we will be prejudiced because we won't have enough time to address it. Your Honor, the facts show that the timeline for this has been caused by the Commonwealth, not the defense. And I can do it quickly. July 2024, the first trial concludes. November 2024, 4 months later, the Commonwealth decides to retain Aperture. Their decision to wait 4 months to retain an expert, we're the defense. We defend what the Commonwealth alleges. January 30th, 2025, 2 months after that, and 6 months after the first trial, we get an Aperture letter report that's barely discernible about what they've done. It's a 1 page and 1/4 of conclusions and opinions in outline form. Next, January 31, 2025, we get the initial.
Okay, a page letter. That was exactly what the defense handed over for ARCA first trial round, not months before. That's all that they give. Not who did what. It was just a very minimal conclusions. And they said, we met our discovery last time. Turns out that they violated their discovery last time. This is a pattern and practice of the defense. Karen Reed's case, they cannot win by playing fairly. They have to cheat. And like I say, I'll say it again, but if the Commonwealth did this, it would be case dismissed for Karen Reed. Brady violation, case dismissed. If any of those, and they see any information as exculpatory, has to be exculpatory to be Brady violation, but I think it's really been expanded in scope, and you saw it in the Baldwin trial. So if you watch that, why it really wasn't very helpful, that evidence to Baldwin, but
Aperture 140 slide presentation. January 31st, February 5th, we get the case file. In February of 2000, or February 19th, we finally get the raw images from Aperture in the scans. That's the first time we get raw images and scans. You can't have an expert work on anything until you even get those raw images in scans. We move, and we have a hearing on March 20, 2025 to preclude Dr. Welcher.
Heisenberg says, Karen, thank you. Karen Reed's own mouth is Hank's best witness here. I agree. That's what I was most looking. I mean, you saw me on court TV. That's what I said. I said, I'm most looking forward to hearing Karen Reed's own statements, the outtakes, and things that Karen Reed's lawyers asked them to take out of the ID Discovery TV show, what she told Gretchen Voss, that Gretchen Voss fought so hard to keep out. Turned out that Gretchen Voss, one of the reasons she kept the off-the-record comments from Karen Reed's lawyers and everything else, all her unedited tapes of her interviews out, is because Karen Reed's own lawyers were giving her information that was sealed, meaning the court ordered it sealed, not to be given out, and said, wait till we put it in an unrelated motion. Then you can write about it, giving her a heads up, early start. So when the motion lands, she's got a story all written.
Because the slides are so incoherent and the report is so insubstantial, we can't tell. We can't tell what it is their theory is. So then on March 24th, and at that hearing, the Commonwealth agrees to redact and revise that. So we're already into March 20th. The Commonwealth agrees to redact and revise. Your Honor put the defense on a short leash. We accepted it. And by March 24, we received the PowerPoint that was supposed of the aperture that was supposed to be have two things happen. It was supposed to be redacted, and there were certain things that were supposed to be changed. What did we get on March 24th? It wasn't redacted, and there were 3 substantive changes to it. The Commonwealth has said twice, including today, there were no substantive changes. There's 3 of them, and to the extent Your Honor wants to hear, I can detail exactly what those changes
So
were.
why don't you highlight them very quickly, because
I will, Your Honor. I can do it quickly. Thank you for the opportunity. First one, slide 36, they changed the image of 34 Fairview. No small change. 102, they changed the conclusion regarding the time that the tail light was broken. No small change. 123, they changed the image of 34 Fairview. No small change. So we ended up getting those changes, and I want to be clear on the date. That's March 24th. We have a hearing on March 25th. We agreed to provide our response to these revised aperture documents. Here is the key data point. On March 26th, the defense engages ARCA. Just 2 days after we get the revised PowerPoint with 3 substantive changes. And then we started to respond and provide more information. On March 27th, we responded to the Commonwealth's revised PowerPoint and the Welch report. And then the last 2 items, we renewed our request to preclude Dr. Welcher on Delbert Lanigan grounds. April 1st, and this is another key date, the court decision allowed Dr. Welcher to testify, but also allowed the defense to re-raise objections at trial when Dr. Welcher testified. What does that timeline show? That timeline shows that the Commonwealth took 6 months from the last trial, 6 months, and the defense took merely 2 days.
But they're not erasing text messages and and they're meeting their discovery obligations. When they're revising something and adding 2 new changes is not hiding discovery. They will refuse to hand over discovery. Does everybody get the difference between making 2 changes and alerting them when there are changes to documents they already have? And hiding discovery and getting rid of text messages? If you want to see corruption, it's all on the defense in this case. That's where the real corruption is. It's a corruption of our legal system. With a judge, just another wing of the defense. And that's the referee. So if you have a referee in a basketball game who favors one side, they're not going to call it all the time for the other side, right? They're going to mix it up. But generally, they're going to favor one side. It's what's happened all through this case. Last time, the defense got almost everything that they wanted, including keeping Karen Reed's own statements out. The judge said, no, you can't bring in Karen Reed's own statements that she made freely, gave up her right to remain silent, gave all these interviews. No, they're not coming in. Why not? This time they're coming in.
After they got the final report of aperture to retain ARCA. Last point I want to make, Your Honor, is the argument of the Commonwealth that we strategically waited to retain ARCA. Nothing could be further from the truth. As the court knows, and has been the case with this unorthodox situation, ARCA was retained by the U.S. government. They worked pursuant to the U.S. government, and we had to get the permission of the U.S. government to retain ARCA. We moved expeditiously to do that. We got the permission from the government, and as soon as we got the permission from the government, and as soon as we got the final version of Aperture documents, including scans, we put ARCA on it. It has only been since March of...
Okay, Heisenberg, I'm not sure if I understand your comment. If she gets convicted, okay, so she appeals and she overturns her conviction. And yeah, well, on like grounds that it was an unfair trial. And back here again, all likelihood she'll get convicted. The evidence against her is too strong in this case. I hope so. So is the innocence fraud campaign. Is very strong, and they're very powerful things. I'm not convinced she's going to get convicted. I'm hopeful. I hope she is, but I think the evidence, I think a fair jury would convict her. But this campaign and also the way we're teaching our young people, all these ideas that come from this movement have infected our universities and our schools. It's a hard thing.
March 24th, not even a month have we had finally the information from Aperture, which is still inadequate. Our experts still say, with regard to what Aperture did, in some instances, they can't even figure it out because the information is so inadequate. Nonetheless, because of all the considerations we're aware of, we had ARCA proceed forthwith with post haste. And they are working post haste. But, Your Honor, we are the defense. That's where I started. We had to understand as best we could what Aperture did. In conclusion, 2 points. No violation whatsoever on text messages, emails, court orders. All complete, robust compliance. And with regard to the allegation that there was something said, that there's some surprise that there were so many text messages, on June 10th, 2024, and I've got the transcript on an, albeit on an electronic device, right in front of me, I just got to get the passcode. Mr. Jackson read a text message right live that he had with ARCA. He read it, and here's what it said.
Oh, he cherry picked a text message to read to the court? What a shocker. Some inane text message.
Okay. Mr. Lally, so her issue is that she is available this week, but not next week. So I really need to get her in on Friday. Mr. Jackson.
Hold on. The court reporter can't hear you. She asked you to stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Am I going too fast? Yes. Thank you. All right. Thank you. My apologies.
Oh, it's so gross the way he juts out his chin. It's so aggressive.
So, Mr. Lally, so her issue is that she is available this week, but not next week. So I really need to get her in on Friday. Mr. Jackson. Dr. Wolf just texted me and said, I presumed you were in court. Give me a call when you're available. The court.
Oh, they want to talk by call that they can't record. Strange that they want to talk by text and calling. Are they texting on an encrypted app that automatically deletes? Is that what happened here? The way Karen Reed communicates with Aiden Turtleboy Carney on an encrypted app that auto deletes?
Reporter, I'm getting an interference. Mr. Jackson, I'm so sorry. The court reporter, that's okay. We have been completely transparent that there were text messages as opposed to emails, text messages about scheduling.
One question for Alessi. So, spoiler alert, the judge didn't buy it. I don't want to put this on too long, but they're going to, my understanding is Monday. It's going to be a half day. and Friday's going to be a half day. And ARCA witnesses are coming in Monday. Thought it was going to be Friday, but now it's Monday, half day. So they're going to have 2 half days in a row, this Friday and Monday. I think we're going to leave it here. Right? She just doesn't buy it, as she shouldn't. They've already been admonished by the court for this very thing, for lying to the court. So it's not such a powerful argument when you scream at the court and say, we've been totally transparent. You haven't. You've already been admonished for lying to the court. Seemed to go over the heads of all the free Karen readers, what that was about. I just don't think they can see it. It's right in their face that ARCA were paid. They lied about it. You can go back to the testimony. I played it before of Jackson and Daniel Wolf, where Daniel Wolf saying, we haven't been paid. Oh, you could be used by the Commonwealth, says Jackson. Wolf says, oh, yes, this is the ARCA witness, Wolf. Oh, yes, the Commonwealth could have used it. So they just didn't want to use us because they didn't like our conclusions. So you were hired and retained by a totally different entity. Oh, yes, not us. Weren't retained by us. Heisenberg, thanks again. Her own mouth with all the new evidence coming will be too much for her to overcome. Hope so. Alan complained she might look bad. Blame your client, AJ. No, blame your client. Blame Alan Jackson. David Yannetti went after this ID discovery TV show for her to do. This was part of their innocence fraud campaign. Absolutely paper the media, wall-to-wall media of Karen Reed from her side, claiming her innocence. This was their strategy. It just came back to bite them because ultimately they're not very good lawyers. They're more like criminals who get away by breaking the law, going beyond the bounds of the law, working within the law, not so much. So before I go, please hit the thumbs up on your way out. Leave me a comment. I get so much out of your comments. I read every single one of them. Share this episode. Buy me a coffee. Send a donation via Venmo. Or become a Patreon member and get access to exclusive content you won't get anywhere else. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. to stream this trial, then back again at 6. I'll see you all then. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks so much for listening and watching with me. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. win. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown.